Welcome back to the next episode of Minecraft Hacked. I have to admit something. I played some more off screen. You can actually see the result behind me. I wanted to build some nice stuff. I have said that in the past few episodes, but then I never done it. Constantly I'm getting distracted by looking at Minecraft source code, looking for vulnerabilities and stuff. So here, finally, I took a bit of time and made a nice walkway from the start of my base going up the hill where we have the potato farm and villager breeder. And you know what? I want to show you something up there. So just follow me. Oh, and by the way, I started watching Hermitcraft. I have never watched Minecraft series like that before, but it started to really grow on me. Watching the different perspectives and characters and build, it's really nice. I get why it's so popular. I cannot wait for the next episode. And yeah, seeing builds there made me want to make something nice as well. So what do you think? Does my path look nice? I know, it's basic. Before we head up the village breeder, let me get some potatoes first. I thought it might be useful to start trading emeralds. I made sure both of them trade potatoes so I can very easily stockpile some emeralds for later. Now let's head up the hill and wait for it. You will probably wonder, what the F is this? Okay, yeah, I started to breed villagers. I added a farm on the backside with another farmer. Like the potato farm we built before, they will also harvest the potatoes and throw them to the other villagers. But here I actually want the villagers to have it because they need food to breed. And yeah, when they have enough food, they produce a baby. This baby then walks out, as you have seen in a previous episode, and eventually sits in a boat. And stays there. This is perfect to capture villagers. I let this farm run for a couple of hours and it seemed to work well. You can see over time quite a few villagers get trapped in the boats. Nice. But why do I want so many villagers? Let me show you where I bring them. I made here a pathway along the hill and so I can transport them with the boat. Boats on land are not fast, but they are great for transporting villagers. And wait for it. There we are. Look at that. This should probably be illegal. I'm gathering tons of villagers here because I want to create a big trading area for enchanted books, but also other stuff. By the way, I made this pathway for the boat so I can tell you the fake story that I travel with the boat over there. But then I remembered, oh wait, they know I developed a flying hack. So of course I flew with the boats over there. Yeah, so I've been doing that. But I also think we got enough villagers for now, so I decided to turn the breeder farm off. To do that, I just transformed it a little bit into a regular potato farm. You know, adding the hopper minecart to snatch the thrown potatoes. But also I put a composter there because I figured getting some bone meal would be useful too. Anyway, I told you I have bigger plans. It annoyed me that my base looked so terrible. So I looked on YouTube what to build. And I really wanted an iron farm. But also one that looked nice. And I found this video with a really nice build by Avomans. It's an iron farm in a very pretty house. So I used this opportunity to try out something new, and I built the farm in creative mode first. I mentioned this before, there are mods that help you build. For example, Lightmatica is one a lot of people use. So after I finished building and decorating the house in creative mode, I created a schematic from it, which I can now use in my survival world. So going back to the server, now I can decide where I want to place it. I think here somewhere would be a nice spot. Of course, this doesn't build it for you, it just helps you to visualize where to place the block. It's still survival and I have to have the blocks. It can also display a material list what you need. This is very helpful so I can make sure I have enough of it in my inventory. But luckily we mined a lot of blocks and wood in the past episodes. We have to transform some blocks with the stone cutter into different kind, but we definitely have enough. So let's start building. While I was just mindlessly placing blocks, I thought about griefing. Basically the opposite of building. Griefing is destroying somebody else's build. It used to be a big genre on YouTube where people just go on random servers and grief them with fire, lava casting and TNT. It still exists, but I don't feel like it's that popular anymore. I think there's an interesting parallel between griefing and finding vulnerabilities in other people's software. In both cases, you are breaking something somebody else made. Of course, most of the time griefing is awful, and yet some people seem to find it funny. I don't know how humor works, but I know from experience I can laugh about pretty dark jokes myself. I understand that they are awful, and yet I laugh. I don't know why. I guess I can somewhat understand that misery can be funny sometimes, and griefing plays into that. I don't want to sound like an old man, but I guess it's something mostly younger people find funny. The reason I think is once you have been on the receiving side of it, you understand the pain that it can cause. The older you are, the more likely you have been bullied, pranked, cheated on, lied to, whatever. You have a much better understanding for what it means to feel this kind of emotional pain, so you probably try to do it less to other people. And yet I said grieving is not funny most of the time. So when is grieving not terrible? Isn't destroying somebody's hard work that they spent dozens or hundreds of hours on always awful? Well, I think what sucks about grieving is that it's unbalanced. What takes hundreds of hours to build can take seconds to destroy. But hear me out. Have you ever been the target of a prank? Was it a good or negative experience? When is a prank fun and when is it bullying? Pouring water over somebody you don't like at school, that's bullying. It's not a prank, you're just an asshole. But coming up with an elaborate plan, putting a plastic container on a remote controlled car and then... Okay, I'm not that creative, I don't know, imagine a super elaborate plan to get somebody wet. Well, now it could be funny. The reason for that is that it actually took a considerable amount of effort to pull off this prank. The targeted person could have a response where they feel like, wow, they spent so much time just to prank me. That definitely could be a positive experience. People care about you. And I think what this shows is that there needs to be a balance. Low effort, huge damage, that sucks. It sucks to be grieved for nothing. But if somebody puts in a lot of effort, has to come up with a super creative idea, or maybe the prank even takes much more effort than repairing the damage takes, well then everything feels a bit different. So when you just have the IP of somebody's Minecraft server, you go on there and destroy everything, that's lazy, not funny, not a great prank. But if you write your own script to scan the internet for Minecraft servers, you check what player is currently online, you do that over a long period of time just in order to find the private server of the Mojang developer Jeb, with the goal to grief him, well I think now it really becomes debatable. It's still somewhat of a dick move, it still maybe made Jeb angry or sad, but at the same time, hats off to the effort. This was not lazy, this was actually kinda cool. And here we can slowly make a bridge over to hacking. At the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the MIT, there's the concept of hacks. Hacks at the MIT are practical jokes and pranks meant to prominently demonstrate technical aptitude and cleverness. Although many traditional college pranks have involved maximizing embarrassment or inconvenience for a victim or target, such antics are usually disparaged by MIT hackers as unimaginative or boring. Even when an individual is targeted, the jest is good-natured, often eliciting admiration rather than anger from the victim. And this is the difference. The group who went through all this effort to find the server from Jeb, it's clever, it's different, it's a lot of effort. You almost have to admire them for it. Now, I don't know this group. I don't know what their motivation really was. I don't know how much damage they actually caused. I guess there are still lines you maybe should not cross, maybe destroy only one building or so, I don't know. I guess you cannot say that the group who grieved Jeb is completely absolved of their crimes, but at the same time I also think it's not pure evil. The effort somewhat balances it. What do you think? Comment below. And there are more examples of this. On the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft, 2b2t, on there it's allowed or even expected to grief bases. There are tons of amazing stories how certain bases were discovered or leaked and then destroyed. Sometimes it was just low effort from the griefer, but sometimes the griefers had amazing techniques, maybe even discovered and exploited vulnerabilities to find bases. In those cases you can have respect for the skills. Unfortunately, most people are unskilled, lazy noobs, script kiddies, people who don't put any effort into anything in their life and then feel powerful and boast about their lazy griefs. Those exist en masse and I don't want to defend them, but I do think there are some crazy, smart, evil people, and when they do evil stuff, they do it with a creativity and skill where you just have to press thumbs up on this video to pay respect. Anyway, I wanted to also relate this to breaking software. I know that many developers feel pride in their creation, and they should, but I also know that when somebody reports or documents vulnerabilities in their software, maybe even making fun of it, that's a bad habit in our industry, it can really feel awful. It feels like the researcher just wants to destroy your software. I can totally understand why a developer would feel that way, but I also think it's kinda a misunderstanding of what's going on. First of all, the obvious, a security researcher does not create the vulnerability. The vulnerability was there in the code all along, the hacker just discovered it. And secondly, usually finding, documenting, and reporting vulnerabilities requires time and effort. It can require a lot of skill and creativity to uncover it. And the researchers probably didn't look for them in your software because they wanted to hurt you. They looked for it because it was a fun technical challenge and somehow your code was interesting for them to spend time on. It should be seen as something positive. But when you compare it to the previous examples, you can also see that there are cases where maybe the security researcher is an asshole. If somebody downloads a vulnerability scanner, just copies an exploit from the internet, and in the end boasts about their amazing skills, maybe laughing at the bad developers or admins, yeah, suddenly you are not the cool hacker anymore. Congrats, you are a script kiddie. Anyway, the story of how Jeb's server was discovered actually motivated me to try to implement something like that myself. I've always wanted a reason to develop some internet-wide scanning tool. Scanning Minecraft servers is maybe not super useful for IT security, but this whole project is about having fun. Of course, creating an internet-wide scanner to discover assets for bug bounty hunting would be more professional, but in the end it doesn't matter. You have to solve the same technical problems, so the experience I gain from this is still useful. It's a really good opportunity to practice coding and try out some new stuff. So I wanted to build a scanner with multiple services. Let's make a plan. First, we need a discovery component. We need something that can scan for IPs with open port 25565, the default Minecraft server port. And when this service discovers a candidate, it should be placed into a queue. And then we want something to consume this queue to check if it's really a Minecraft server. Maybe you have noticed this before. Without joining a server, you already see some information about it when it's in your server list. That's because there's a feature in the protocol to get this information from the server. It's here in the server list ping wiki. Requesting the server information makes the server return as JSON data, which contains the server version, protocol version, the description of the server, but also a sample of online players. So we need a component that can do that. Just query the server status information. And then maybe we want the system to be extensible if you want to do more stuff. Maybe some of you know what this stuff is because I accidentally made a lot of people very angry, but that has to wait for next episode. In this episode, I want to introduce the base scanner. So how do we implement the two components now? I know about MassScan, but I've never used it before. MassScan is a TCP port scanner, spoofs SYN packets asynchronously, scanning entire internet in under 5 minutes. It's a very clever design. A TCP connection is established by sending a SYN packet, and then the server responds with a SYN ACK. Instead of waiting for this response, MassScan can just spew out SYN packets to tons of IP addresses, and then patiently waits for SYN ACK responses. If you get a response, probably that port is open. Now, we need to be somewhat responsible and be a good cyber citizen. Don't be an asshole. This can be like a denial of service attack, filling up any available network capacity. So especially when you do this from a server in a data center, be nice and rate limit the search. You don't need to scan the internet in 5 minutes. But what is a good rate limit? Hard to say. Here you can see mine. I use a Python wrapper around MassScan and I send 260,000 SYN packets per second. It was slower before, but I scan IP addresses in batches and it took a bit too long. Even now, I think I have not scanned the whole internet even once, even though I had it running for like a month or so. So I think it's fine. But I'm also not sure, I don't know. It's just very important to me that you think about this and you understand what you are doing so you don't accidentally crash any networks. Anyway, when MassScan identifies a potentially open port, I want to place this as a job in a queue. So how do we get the Minecraft status information and where do we store the data? I want to make this clear. I did this whole project to learn and practice. My solution is not perfect. It's actually terrible. But I only learned this because I tried this. And I think if you want to become a good developer, you need to make experiences like this. So here's my Docker Compose file. First of all, you can see here Redis and Mongo. Mongo is basically my object database. This is where I store all the results into. Because the whole process was explorative and not every server responds with the perfectly same information, using Mongo is good. We can just throw any JSON data into the storage. Redis is used as the backend for the task scheduling. It is used by Dramatic. Dramatic is a background task processing library for Python with a focus on simplicity, reliability, and performance. I've never used it before. I know about Celery and I've used that before, but it always felt a bit of a hassle, and so I was intrigued by simplicity and reliability. For me, who is only developing small scripts and tools, this is important. I'm not trying to build a scalable service used by millions of users. I need a simple and reliable solution. And so I used this project to check out Dramatic. Then we have here some Python app. I mentioned it before, I use Python as a mask scan wrapper, so this is just a basic loop that picks a random IP range, starts mask scan, and for any candidate is then launching here the Minecraft server status check, basically putting the task into the queue. So let's look at this MC status function. Here you can see the Dramatic actor decorator, so this is a job executed by Dramatic. And here things get weird. So to get the Minecraft server information, I'm using Quarry. I've used Quarry in episode 1 for the network protocol analysis, so I was already familiar with the code and wanted to use it. Anyway, this is where the whole project fell apart. That's why you see here time limits, timeout process, and whatever. Turns out Dramatic is not as reliable as I needed it to be. You see, in this worker function, we don't just calculate some basic stuff. We connect to a TCP remote server, which might not even be there, and timeout, or the connected Minecraft server is weird, or Quarry has some bugs. There can be tons of issues with networking. And look at this warning in the Dramatic docs. Warning: time limits are best effort. They cannot cancel system calls or any function that doesn't currently hold the GIL under CPython. To be honest, I don't know if that is the issue. I tried to get around this by starting an entirely new process, doing the whole networking in its own space, and then terminating that process after a 10-second timeout. But for whatever reason, Dramatic keeps hanging. It's running for a few hours and suddenly no other tasks are scheduled anymore. Every day I have to restart the Dramatic worker. I'm not sure what the problem is, it's very likely just my fault, but that's the point of this whole experiment for me. Dramatic is probably awesome if you use it right, but it's not the simplicity and robustness I was looking for. So this was kind of a failed project for me. It worked, I scanned Minecraft servers, but as I said, constantly had to restart the worker service. So on one hand it's a failure, but on the other hand this experience is super valuable to me. I know if I want to build internet-wide scanning again, I need to use a different worker system. Anyway, as I said, all the information is then put into a Mongo database, and I found Mongo Express, which is a nice web user interface for Mongo. This way I can very easily look at the data, and here it is. Sorry for blurring the Minecraft server IPs, but through this project I also learned that people really don't like their public servers to be scanned, and my intention is of course not to cause any harm. And if I show here a handful of public servers, good chance some of you go there and grief it, so yeah, I blur it. Anyway, here's the server status, so the version and the server description, and it shows how many players are online. You can try different queries, like the different versions, and you can see how many servers I found there. We could also try to look for a new 1.19 server. By the way, it's March when I record this video, so maybe Mojang leaked it? No finding. I also log every player I encounter in the player list of the servers. And oh my god, Grian? Is that the real Grian? Looking at the UUID, it looks like the real one. Could this be the Hermitcraft server? Though some servers have fake players, so I'm not sure. But looking at the other players on the server, there's also Paluten and Gronk. These are German YouTubers. Wait, wasn't yesterday the Twitch rivals Minecraft? Did they play? But I don't see them in the list. No clue what's going on there. Maybe it's a secret society meeting of big gaming YouTubers. It says here it's version 1.16.5. I installed that and tried to join. I'm now also a big Minecraft YouTuber. Of course, I'm not allowed to join. Oh. Okay, so the data is there now. What do we do with this information now? Well, I don't know, to be honest. I don't have any big goals. The project itself was the goal. I wanted to work on some technical projects related to Minecraft. This way I can turn my gaming addiction into something productive. And that's what I did here. I wrote the scanner, I scanned servers, I gained tons of more IT experience, and I'm happy. There was no goal. Just kidding, of course I did all this to grief servers. Let's go. I wrote a simple Python script that looks through all my data, picks a random 1.18.2 server and wrote the IP to the etc host file. This way I can connect to random server local and get connected to a random server. So let's go, connect. Oh, looks like there's activity on the server. Let's find some flint and steel or TNT so we can get started. With Flyhack and X-Ray it should be easy. Oh, hello there. We even have somebody who can watch us destroy their world. Just kidding. Of course I'm not griefing. I want to look at amazing builds from other people. And so I'm officially the anti-grief squad. If I join your server, I leave with a net positive. So let's maybe harvest and replant some of the crops. Then we did a bit of good. Next server. This one looks a bit empty, probably they just moved away from spawn. I flew around a bit, but I couldn't find any buildings. But I still wanted to leave with a net positive, so I got some wood, crafted a chest and placed the leftover materials in there. There we go, next server. Ah, nice, some more player activity here. Over there it looks like a castle. Interesting. I love the new terrain generation. I really should have built in such a place as well. Anyway, this looks like some automatic smelting setup, but nothing there. There was also a nether portal. Maybe it's a highway to a bigger base. There was a long hallway. Let's run down and see where it leads. By the way, this is not sped up. This is just the Flyhack basically walking on the ground. That is the actual speed. Oh my god, I almost ran into that lava fall. Okay, nothing here as well. Let's go back. We did pick up a lot of blocks from our sprint, so let's place them into a chest and then we also did something good on here. Next server. Another player is online. Cool. We had a nice chat and I wanted to find where they are, so maybe I could help them mining. With my X-ray mod I could collect a few diamonds for them. I flew around spawn but I just didn't see them anywhere. And then I had my glitch again, I got disconnected for flying. But I haven't done anything good yet and the person I talked to was so nice, so I want to go back. But I'm banned, sorry. Next server. Okay, this server looks crazy. There are also command blocks and buttons that teleport around. There are lots of builds on here. I also noticed that there are entire diamond block buildings, so I guess I don't need to help anybody here. They got everything. But it's still super fun flying around and exploring some of the builds. And ooh, what's that over there? That is Hogwarts for sure. I know a Hogwarts when I see it. Yep, that's definitely Hogwarts. By the way, there's an incredible Harry Potter Minecraft map, a whole game. It's amazing. But let's see what else we can find on here. Ooh, I really like this walkway here. The reddish fences look really nice. Maybe I steal this for my own server. On to the next server. This spawn looked insane. Look at this. So pretty. A green oasis surrounded by big snowy mountains. A beautiful pathway. I really need to take some inspiration from here. And at the end of the path there's even this amazing house. Really cool. In one chest I found a pickaxe and I thought I want to help out and find some diamonds. I flew over the mountaintop and on the other side I found a village where definitely players had built stuff. This here is an iron farm. I really like it when people try to make their farms fit into the world and this totally fits into the village. Really nice. There was also a nether portal which led to a mob farm and looks like they have also enough materials already. So let me go all the way back and return the pickaxe and onto the next server. Here I finally used my X-ray. I got an iron pickaxe, went underground and mined some diamonds. I really hope they appreciate that. I put them in a chest and the anti-grief squad is onto the next server. This server was really fun again. There was a player online, they were not at spawn but I got lucky and found their place while flying around. Ooh, there they are. Hello, just looking around. They still have iron armor, so maybe they would really appreciate a few diamonds. I found some sticks, but still need iron to craft the pickaxe. Is there no iron around? But then this funny situation happened. They asked, how did you get here so fast? And I just casually, slowly float upwards like a real Super Saiyan badass. And the reaction? Oh. Just a moment later, I got killed and put into adventure mode. Actually, that's really nice. Thanks for still allowing me to explore your server and not banning me right away. But I would have really liked to mine some diamonds for you as well. Anyway, back to exploration. I looked at the villager trading prison, which is actually quite comfortable. They really have a lot of space with a bed. In my villager trading hall, this won't be the case. Anyway, that was fun exploring random Minecraft servers. Minecraft itself is a game about adventures and exploring the unknown world, and so this is really just an extension to that. Joining these random worlds is very nice to see. You never know what you will stumble into. So here's my video idea for you. Instead of griefing random servers, why don't you try to be more creative and try to figure out a way how you can help on the server. Create a house to extend the village, do a bit of farming, some mining, I don't know. There are tons of nice things you can do. Anyway, back to my own world again. The iron farm and sugarcane farm is done. Here's the iron farm. The zombie is constantly scaring the villagers, which will summon an iron golem, and everything around is spawn proof except the kill room. So the golem can only spawn in here and is pushed into the lava, which kills the golem slowly. The dropped iron is then collected by some hoppers. And below the farm I built some basic item sorting. By the way, I named the zombie upper management because it's like a joke. It's like a joke for adults doing nothing all day and forcing the poor workers to do their job, spawn the iron golem. Yeah, anyway. Here's the sugarcane farm. The observers will see if the sugarcane grew tall enough and then trigger the pistons, destroying part of the sugarcane, which is then picked up by the hopper minecart below. Also a very basic design you can find everywhere online. But I tried to make it a bit more pretty so it fits nice into the area. I used campfire to make these chimneys, and I think now it looks like an industrial building fitting into the space. Cool. Next up is the villager trading hall. I got started on it, but I will tell you more about it next video.